I'm Jon Sicotte, Executive Editor of the Brewer Magazine. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing to our content at YouTube or Spotify to keep up with the podcast, or head on back and check out over a year's worth of content. You can also head on over to brewermag.com at any time to keep up with your business resources on the print side as well. Well, contract brewing. It's not a dirty word anymore in the craft beer industry. It can be a necessary tool, and Prost Brewing is showing that. They've leveraged contract brewing as they were building out their new space in Colorado to keep that beer flowing while building that out. And now they're returning those favors and offering co-packing and contract brewing services as well. But how do you choose the right contract partner? It's more than just having the capacity or being able to build there. There's a lot of other things, and we're going to break down some key factors in choosing contract brewing and co-packing partners. It's from quality control to knowing your sales velocity. So let's dive into what it takes to make contract brewing work for your brand. And we welcome in Chris O'Connor, Prost's Vice President of Brewery Operations. Chris, thanks so much for joining us on the Brewer Magazine podcast.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, it's always an interesting topic when it comes to talking about contract brewing, co-packing partners, and how things have altered over the past, I would say, 10 years, especially in craft beer.
Absolutely.
Take us through what Prost did as you guys were getting your facility up and going, and kind of, your story when it came to contract brewing.
Yeah, absolutely. We we kind of had the benefit of being on both sides of the coin. So while we had the benefit of growing at a rate that we couldn't sustain out of our original location, and so we had to expand. The process took longer than we thought it was going to, and so we had to kind of create a bridge. And part of that was finding co-packing partners. We actually worked with a couple of different co-packing partners throughout that time, and it was some positive, some negative experiences, which I'm pretty sure anybody who co-packs would probably say.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave us a really interesting perspective into how we wanted to build this new production facility here in Northglenn. So the 60,000 square foot production facility that we built here as our kind of like flagship brewery operations was always designed with contracting in mind. We saw a need in the market, and we really thought that we could be the ones that would fill it just because of the experiences that we have had on the co-packing side. We really wanted to kind of push that, approachable batch sizes, state-of-the-art processing technology, and then really, really elevated quality so that the people who brew with us are incredibly proud of the products that they're able to sell out in the market. It's tough to hand over your baby to somebody else and say, I trust you to raise this and not make it a monster. And it's so it's I can empathize with everybody who comes through the door, and I think that because of that experience, we are very open book about everything that we do. And I think that that's really how it should be, because it really is a brewing partnership, right? Like, it's called co-packing or contracting, but truly it's a partnership. Like, these are two brands that both exist in the market, and they're both sharing space in the consumer's mind. And I think that if we're faithfully executing their vision, that it just elevates the state of craft as a whole, because then it's better products in the market that more people can count on, and it's just consistently there all the time. And that's what we kind of strive for.
Awesome. And you said, like, there's positives and there's negatives. It used to be really negative in the craft beer industry to say you were contracting with someone.
Yeah.
And then it kind of changed into like, well, you remember the nomad phase, or you
Yep.
hear things like that. Now it's to the point, and I think because so many people are in the industry now, so many people understand the logistics, the cost, that it just makes sense, which is funny because in the grand scheme of things, we probably are reinventing the wheel in a little
Yeah.
bit, because it's been done for so long, but it's always been shunned. Why has it changed so much? Is it because of factors like that?
I think factors like that have had an impact. I also think that some of the people who have moved into co-packing have kind of elevated the bar of what's being produced. Like, I think there was a stigma around partner brewing for a while because you view that your brand would always be kind of like second chair to the house brand. But I think more and more of these breweries, especially dedicated co-packers, realize that you really do have to treat every brand like it's the number one brand in the brewery. and they should all be held to the exact same standards. Like, you really shouldn't pick and choose which quality metrics you want to follow. It really should just be, this is the way that we make beer for everybody, because this is what we view our quality standard should be. And the good co-packers really follow that mantra and make every beer to those same quality metrics. But I think from a public's perspective, I think they kind of understand that for high quality packaging, it requires a certain amount of investment. And at a time when, some smaller craft breweries are struggling, it's that investment probably wouldn't be there. And they want to see it out in the market. Like, they want to have access to that product. So I think they're a little bit more willing to accept that maybe somebody is partnering up with somebody else to make that packaged beer so that it can be in the market. It's a big risk, and it's a big push to start going into packaging, because it's not a guarantee that there's pull through, right? The further away you get from your tap rooms, the less your brand is known. And so you're kind of relying on how good your marketing is, how good your sales team is, and then, what your overall exposure is. And then that consistent pull through can come, but it's being in the package market, it's different than, opening tap rooms.
Yeah.
But
what was some of those big positives and maybe even a few negatives that you have encountered in the past that have altered the way how you guys formulated what you wanted to do?
sure. Most people, and this may just be me projecting, but I think most breweries build their brewery around their core brand. So, like, if you were, let's say founders, if you're founders, you made a brewery to make all day, right? If you're New Belgium, you designed a brewery to make OG Fat Tire. Like, that's what it was designed to make, because that's most of what your production was going to be, and you want to faithfully, like, really at a high efficiency execute that product. But
Yeah.
the problem with that is that when I want to go make a German lager in somebody's ale factory, they're not built for it. There's processing steps that we want to be able to do so that we can stay authentically, German with how we produce. And a lot of those facilities, just honestly, they weren't built for it. And it's because most breweries aren't built that way. What we tried to build here was something that really was faithful to old world brewing techniques, but with state-of-the-art equipment. So what we have is the capability of doing multiple stages of decoction, endosperm mashing, vacuum boiling, natural carbonation, open fermentation, horizontal lagering at different sizes and different scales. But what's nice about those old world techniques is that they apply to modern styles too. So I can take that equipment that was specially designed to make really old world beer, and it really can faithfully execute any kind of modern style. And so that flexibility is pretty uncommon in most brewery designs, because, to be perfectly honest, it's not as efficient. If I was going to go try and get every ounce of sugar out of the grain that we're using, I would either go buy a wet mill or I would go buy a hammer mill. And you'll go get 100% of your theoretical extract. But to be perfectly honest, I think that there are quality compromises to some of that processing technology. And I think that what we did, where we knew we were going to take a slight efficiency hit doing things like husk separation and endosperm mashing, we thought that there was enough of a quality improvement that we were willing to take the L there and make it up in the cellar recovery side. So we did more investment on recovering the finished beer and the packaging equipment for efficiencies and recoveries than we did for pure extract. And again, that's all for what we view quality as and what we viewed as important for us, for our brand. And then we apply that to everybody that we partner brew for. And so they get to benefit from kind of what we had seen in the market, what we had kind of experienced, and the dynamic nature of how the brewery was built.
Nice. When it comes to finding people, are they coming to you, or you guys? I know you guys are talking about like it's very out there. You guys are very willing to work as a contract, but is there that much need that you guys can kind of sit back, or are you actively out, headhunting in a way?
Man, I'd love to tell you that I'm good at sales. I spend almost no time doing outside sales. We have been very fortunate that people have heard about us and come to us, and we've been able to find some very like-minded breweries that share our values, and that makes the transition a lot easier for me. I think at the very beginning, when we were just getting up and running and we were actually doing some outside sales while I was still finishing construction here. That was probably the most of the sales that I did, but I'd say everything past the first 40,000 barrels of product, it has been either referrals from people that we work with to other brands coming to us, or people hear about us from the, like our PR network is great. Turn It Up does a great job for us. And they get our name out there. And so that's one of our best sales tools on the contract side. But really it's the referrals from the people that we currently make product for, and them talking about the relationship openly. And I mean, it's hard to hide it here. Like most contract facilities are pretty like walled off and like sterile, but because this is a functioning tap room and beer garden, we actually built everything behind glass. And so like if you make beer here, people know. Like it's hard to hide. Like so it's got to be if you're going to be a partner brewer with us, you kind of need to be comfortable with people seeing that. And I think that we've designed something that's really really elegant, and it's something that people are proud to be a part of and partner with us on.
When it comes to the actual contract,
Yeah,
working with someone, how important is that going into the situation, that both sides understand exactly what needs to be done, and having that contract in place? We're going to do this, you guys are going to do this, this is how things are going to be done. Is it,
sure.
do you have it kind of set in stone, or do you kind of work on a case by case basis and create something for everyone that you're working with?
You know, every co-packer is different. I've seen probably 8 different contracts in my time here, and with people that we had made product with, or people who have sent us things that they're used to running. Our contract is like 3 pages long. It's very much just we'll be a good partner to you. You should be a good partner to us. If you want to leave, you can leave. Like if we want you to go, we can ask you to go. It's
Mhm.
not, we don't want anybody here who's locked in because of a contract they signed. We want people to be with us because they want to be with us. Not everybody does it that way. Some
Mhm.
people have very thorough and robust contracts, and part of it's protection, right? Like somebody could just take their brand and leave, and that's always a risk. You know, that's part of the risk of co-packing, is that at any point in time somebody could decide that they want to go make beer somewhere else, and that's just kind of the way it crumbles. But I think if you are really being a good partner to people and you are really valuing their brand the way that they do, they recognize that that relationship is rare and they would be less likely to leave. But it's like
Right.
any relationship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of relationships, being open about things,
Yeah,
choosing someone who that shares your values, and it has to be on both sides of it,
right.
what is the important keys in that? What are you looking for in someone to come partner with you? And when you're looking at them, is this going to line up? How do you determine
Yeah.
those values?
So it's, do they value the quality of their product, you know, out in the market, out in the world, or are they the type of brand who's taking shortcuts or putting out products that they know aren't up to standard? Because for better or worse, people know that we make other people's beer here, and they know which beers those are for the most part. And so when they see that out in the market, if they try something that's bad, it doesn't just reflect poorly on our partner, it reflects poorly on us as producers, right? And that type of experience isn't something that I'm personally willing to tolerate, because I don't want Prost as a brand being tarnished by somebody who's willing to make those types of concessions, right? So we actually don't even really make it an option. It's this met spec or it didn't. If it doesn't meet spec, we dump it and then we rebrew it right away. It gets first priority and it gets remade. You know, it's a living organism, things happen. But it's how you handle the things that go wrong that separate you as a good producer or a bad producer. The transparency aspect of it is just, open, honest conversations. Like, is the brand moving? Like, what is the feedback you're getting from the market on flavor, on true to type, brand consistency? Like, are people feeling it, or are they not? What do we need to change? What type of, are you having freshness concerns? Are we overproducing? Do we need to pull back? Because what I don't want is old beer in the market, again, reflecting poorly on their brand and on us as a producer. And so that type of fluid conversation between people about what the best way forward is something that's very important, and that I think is rare as well, is because those communications take time, right? And everybody's busy, but
Right.
they're conversations that are worth having. And so I think that people's willingness to be open about how things are moving in the market, how people are responding to it, so that positive impacts through continuous improvement can be made here as well as on the market. I think that that type of transparency, open communication, and then shared quality standard values are critical. Like, people aren't asking me to use like 8-year-old hops in their IPA type of thing. You know, it's, you'd be surprised what I've been asked to do. But so, and you have those kind of conversations like, look, we can do that. It might save you like 20 cents a case, or we can use the superior lot from the superior supplier. We can make you a better product, and your pull through rate will go up because you're making something better. You know, like, I think always having people who want to push to make something as good as it can always try and push things to be better. That is another value that I find important with everybody that we partner with, because you're either growing or dying, you know, and you know what, nothing stays the same. And so we want to make sure that all of our partners have the opportunity to grow.
I want to say the word like, but I'm going to use the word appreciate. I know as a brewer, sometimes when you hire someone that has lots of experience, a brewer, they have their faux pas, their faults. They already do things a certain way, and it's kind of hard to get them in. On the inverse, you have new people that come in when you're hiring a brewer or something, and they're there to learn. They're soaking up like a sponge. Do you appreciate, when it comes to contract partners, someone that hasn't been there yet and is, coming in, and you get to work with them and be able to develop something? Or do you appreciate working with someone that has already been doing this and is coming in and they have that understanding and knowledge? What one do you like, or is it like, obviously it's a different street both ways?
I mean, there's pros to both, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
excitement of things that are new, especially if you're developing something with a partner in real time, like having the freedom to make those adjustments over the first couple of batches. It's a nightmare for supply chain, and they get mad at me all the time, but it's a really fun process to like consistently tweak and improve something until it becomes like their staple, right? And then that's what they're known for. And it's fun to see those things grow and develop. But at the same time, a lot of my education in beer has come from working with other professionals and talking to them about their philosophies on making beer. Because as brewers, we all suffer from our own kind of dogma on like what we think is the way. But I think that there's a lot of opinions on what the right way to make beer is, and taking all of that in and kind of being able to filter what has merit, what doesn't, what's backed by science, what's backed by faith. Like, it's a fun process to kind of go through and evaluate with them in real time, right? It's like the person says, I've always done it this way. I don't know why. This is just the way I was taught, and I think it gives me the best result. Like, okay, cool. Like, have you considered the following things? And it's even down to like basic practices, like single versus double dry hops. What are you getting out of it? What, knockout hop versus transfer hop. Like, there's first wort hopping versus like 60-minute hopping, and do bittering additions provide flavor in a way that has a meaningful impact on the finished product? I can tell you that you can talk to 10 brewers, you'll get 9 different answers on like all those kinds of things, because it's based on your own personal experiences and your own sensory perception. And as a co-packer, we want to give people what they want, but there is a certain amount of like, most people are open to information if you provide it in a way that isn't, no, you're wrong, you shouldn't do that. It's a dialogue. It's like, we've seen this and we've experienced this. This is how we do it. And we get to use our own brand as an example, right? Which is a pretty unique thing. And so I can say, we're doing it this way. This is what we think we're getting from it. And this is what we've been able to analytically prove. If we want to apply that same principles to how you make beer, we think that this will give you a similar result, right? Because you have a baseline, you have a example that you can show somebody, and then maybe you can get to a place where everybody's elevating their craft. But sometimes somebody will come in and say, I want to do, fill in the blank thing, and I'd never heard of it, right? And I read a lot, and I like consume a lot of TQs, and some people have come to me with things like, yeah, I want to do this because of X reason. I go, Okay, what's cool? Let's try that. Like, why not? Like, it's your product. Let's see what happens, you know. And if they've been doing it that way, and that's the result that they want, then that's what quality is, right? Doing what you intended to do the way you intended to do it, and that's really what it kind of boils down to. And as long as we're doing that for clients, I think most people will be pretty happy. But it's a sharing of knowledge, and that's the beautiful thing about beer in general. I mean, my life before beer was biotech, and I couldn't even tell
Mm,
people what I did at my work any day, you know. But like in beers, people are so collaborative. People want to talk about the process. They want to tell you about how they make their beer and what goes
yeah.
into it, because that shared passion and honestly that shared kind of, you know, enthusiasm for something new, something that could be
Hmm.
better, because you know the best beer's never been made, right? It's always a pursuit of. And I think everyone that's in this industry shares that, you know, desire to keep on pushing the envelope and keep on getting it better, which is super unique. You can't say that about every industry. And so it's fun to be a part
Hmm.
of. It's a blessing to be a part of, actually.
And I'm sure part of the big selling point for you guys is try our beer. You will understand why you want to work with us because of the beer that we make, and you have to be proud of that. How has the new system been? It's been a little over a year-ish since you guys officially opened. I know I got a chance to talk to David back then when you guys were just
Oh
getting
yeah.
things. I had you might have flipped a switch and been starting to make some stuff there, but how is it 1 year in for brewing?
God, you know, it feels like we're turning something new on every day.
Yeah.
Right, even down to like we're turning on our carbo blending system and our deer water system in the next 3 weeks, and that commissioning starts like way too fast. But like I would say it's been amazing working with Casper Schultz. The brew house that we designed with them and put in is truly a 101. It is a beautiful piece of equipment. The partnership has been fantastic. The open fermentation suite that we built for our products and the horizontal lagering tanks that Casper Schultz built all of for us has been, it's been really wild. You know, I had tried a lot of the beers from Germany when I've been over there during op selection and seen a lot of the processes that they were going through. And I really wanted to bring that here, but I really wanted to do it with, you know, brand new state of the art equipment. And so even with that, the downstream processing from our horizontal lagering tanks is a crossflow filter from Pentair that is super, super cool. Um, it's a ceramic composite. So there's like no oil stripping, there's no color loss, incredibly efficient separation. And you basically just get crystal clear beer on the back end with almost no quality impact. It's not like when you go through Pico pads or like regenerated cellulose filters where you do see some IBU loss, you do see some color loss. None of
Yeah.
that.
Nice.
Being able to put in our CO2 recovery system so that we can actually use natural CO2 for our finished products has had a noticeable flavor difference. And I think that what we tried to do was layer small improvements to see like how much better our beer could get in the way that we view, you know, what Prost beer should be. And so, you know, the endosperm mashing aspect of it was, you know, an ad. You could definitely feel it in how soft the malt flavor is. Like the ability to do multiple decoction for our darker beers or our Hefeweizen, really you can taste it in how those malt flavors really coalesce. You know, gentle boiling with vacuum separation shows up in our head retention. Like it's beautiful, super velvety, thick foam that is very persistent. And so it helps with aromatics throughout the drink. And then open fermentation for running things like Feinschliffon lager volatilizes a lot of sulfur. It's a very gentle fermentation. And so it's a really, really clean, easy drinking beer. And so I realize I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Uh,
No.
but, but
Shows the
it's
passion,
a,
man.
no, it's fun to see. It's really a one of one. There are people who have components of what we do, but I truly don't know of another brewery that is built this way, and that is exciting every day. And it was slightly terrifying while we built it. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like on paper, you heard this a lot. Like while we were building the brewery, you'd hear me say this a lot. On paper, this makes a lot of sense. This should work. And they're like, okay, cool. Can you point to any examples? Yep. No, I can't. But this should work. They're like, all right, let's go. So
Nice.
there was a lot of faith from the leadership team in how we put this together. But I think that faith was rewarded with the type of products that we're making now. And I think everybody's really excited about where this is going to continue to go.
Nice.
Because even with
Uh,
that, we still have room to grow as a brand. We can still make our products better. I know all the ways that I'm going to tweak it, and we can keep pushing that envelope further and further and further in terms of our product quality.
nice. Uh, Circling it back to partnerships, is there a success
Mm-hmm.
story that you love to tell people about, to say, we've worked with these people now, and to be able to see whether it's cost savings, increase in
Mm-hmm.
quality, what do you guys use when you're talking to people? Like, you want to talk to them, go talk to them. They'll tell you, what we can do.
That's usually what I do, and it's mostly because I mean, as a co-packer, we sign NDAs with everybody, so I don't talk about specific clients, but I can talk about generally with stories. I mean,
Sure.
we had the opportunity to grow a brand that never existed, and I mean, they're doing incredible sales now, and it's wonderful to see what their growth curve has looked like. We brought in an existing brand that had been in the market for more than a decade, and they're showing signs of rapid growth in a brand that has existed for basically that the entire time that that company's been around, and they're doing more and more and more sales because of the product quality improvements that they're seeing from this. And to the point where my goal ultimately for any of our co-packing partners is that we make it so well that they stop making it. Like, what the worst thing I could have is two versions of it in the world, right? You go to their tap room and you try it and it tastes nothing like what we put in the can. And so like I want them to be so happy with what we're making for them that they just focus on innovation and what's next, and we just do that brand for them. And that's what they serve in the tap rooms, and that's what lives in the market. And I think that should be the goal, is for every brand. But that allows them to focus on innovation. That allows them to provide new offerings for their customers, and then they're not focusing all their time creating that core beer anymore because we're doing it for
Nice. The one thing that while you were talking about that, is I pulled up the press release that I got just a couple days ago, yesterday, and Hellas is going to be a limited time release for you guys.
them. Yep.
And what did you think about it? Like, tell me a little bit about the Hellas. It's just coming out.
So that was the first Hellas that actually went through the full process. So the previous
Hmm.
ones had only been, traditional cylindrical fermentation. And so this was the first time that got about 10 days in open fermentation and then about 35 days in the lagering tank. And so by the time it actually went through the filter, it was already at carb spec from the natural carbonation. And so
Oh,
we were already going into the bright tank ready to go, which was wild. And it is, in my opinion, the best Hellas that we have made as a company. And
awesome.
and even with that, I know how to make it better. And so it'll be like, and these are the things that you go through. Like, I mean, you're never satisfied with what you make. Like, you can be proud of it, but you're never satisfied. There's always things about it that you can make minor adjustments throughout and find a better path forward. And I know that that's how the team feels. They're incredibly passionate about what they do, and they love the beer that we make. But I think we all want to keep pushing. It's the pursuit. It's not the end point.
Well, that'll wrap that up. But do you want to do three hot rapid fire questions just for fun of random stuff?
Fire away.
Fire away. Ready? All right. And they're fun ones. If you were
Nice.
stranded on a desert island but could only bring one weird item from the brewery, what would it be?
We have a small still in the back that we use to make distilled water. I would use that to distill
Oh,
because
I
I'm not
thought
going
you
to
were
be
going with
sober
I'm
on
just
that
going to get
island,
drunk the
man.
whole time.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be sober on that island. That won't be a thing.
um, if no, let's do this one. Which reality TV show do you think you could win and why?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
I thought you were going to say The Voice.
Yeah, I do karaoke. Don't tease me. But
Okay,
no,
okay, gotcha.
20-year-old me would have said the challenge, but old me is not going to be able to run that much. So I'm going to go ahead and go with probably The Wall.
That one, I hadn't seen it until just a few. Oh wait, is the Wall the one with Rob Lowe, or am I thinking of a different one?
You're thinking about The Floor.
The floor. See, okay,
the
I'm on the wrong part of the
the
building.
wall is the one that LeBron James brought back, and it's basically
Yeah,
just Plinko, but with like slightly different rules.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. What's the last thing you Googled on your phone?
What is the last thing I Googled on my phone? Oh, I was looking up the horsepower of an RSQ8. That was the last thing
I
I
love when
Googled
I
on my
ask
phone.
people, it's always something technical that they're looking up. Like mine is like, Star Trek trivia or curling results or something goofy. Like I
Nice.
feel like I need to look up stuff better. So, well, cool,
I
Chris. Oh, what were you gonna say?
You're good. Oh no, you're good. I just like looking at cars. I'm a nerd like that.
Nice. Cool. Well, it was great talking to you and I appreciate it. And, best of luck going forward with the arrangements that you got with these breweries and being able to, use what you guys have and be able to spread the wealth that way and in bettering craft beer.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. It's been a fun year, and I'm really excited for what 2025 is going to bring. So
Cheers, man.
yeah, cheers.
Don't forget, you can always check on brewermag.com. You can also see us on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify. And don't forget daily updates on Facebook, Instagram, and X. I'm Executive Editor Jon Sicotte for brewermagazine.com.